It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering the new updates from the Cherry Blossom update. There's a lot of fun things to unpack, and I wanted to show you guys as much as I could figure out. And here are my first few favorite things: the new resource updates. So the Biscuit Mill, the Cotton Candy Factory, the Fresh Milk Cistern, and the Jellyberry Terrarium. So if you guys are struggling at all with resource production in your kingdom, these are something that I would say that are worth getting. Now, being that they are a paid item only, so you can't use gems to get them, you can't use coins to get them, they are a dollar currency item only. That is something that if you are a free-to-play player, you may probably not be getting, but it is something that is very beneficial to long-term progression of resource generation. So it is something I would recommend. At least give a consideration if you would potentially be willing to spend for something like that, as they're about $11 a piece. So you'd spend about $50 to get all of them. Now to cover the new Cherry Blossom cookie. So her skill, it's interesting. It's 17 seconds. Get ready for a storm of cherry blossoms. Cherry Blossom cookie flies up, and showers her enemies with a rain of cherry blossoms, dealing area damage. She will deal additional damage to non-cookie opponents and increase the attack of all allies. The bonus will depend on the number of enemies hit with the skill. And her single hit damage is 83%. So I did attempt her with critical toppings and with searing toppings. She didn't do a huge amount of damage. She does still do good damage. She's not weak, but she wasn't a big, massive damage type of cookie. Of course, that will be different to non-cookie opponents because, as her skill said, she will deal more damage to non-cookies. It would have been nice if they gave a percentage of what she would do to non-cookies, so we don't really know that right now, but we do know at the very least that she's going to deal a little under her base attack at the high level, which will be about 30,000 to cookies. And remember, that's hitting each cookie, so when she goes and showers over, she's dealing 30,000 to 5 enemies. So that's about 150,000 damage at the base. And do take into account this is my cookie bonds, this is my lab upgrades, so yours might be a little bit lower or a little bit higher depending on what upgrades and things you've got unlocked. So the other toppings I've actually been trying on her instead is cooldown and almonds. The reason is I like her skill, and what her skill does is it buffs the team. So she's almost like another pomegranate cookie in the sense that the team is getting an attack buff, and I like that a lot. So I think running with more of that in the focus is how I've been playing her and how I've been liking her. So for instance, if I go against a team, let's just take one of the lower level teams that I know about, and let's just use Cherry Blossom Cookie to just show you her capabilities on her own to start. And let's put the clock and the sugar wand, and we'll do the toppings of. Well, we'll run the attack toppings first, just to show you her innate power. And as you can see, it takes a 5-second start with her 17 seconds. Really good damage there. A lot of powerful damage of what she hit. The feather brings her back for another strike. We're doing okay. But as you can see, her just general attacks are not really huge. So that is where her skill is going to be much more important than her regular attack. And she did 1.5 million damage. It's still good damage. So it's not that she did a bad job. But I don't think that she's specifically going to be a massive damage dealer in the arena to regular cookies to replace someone like Sea Fairy or someone like Dark Cacao or someone that's dealing much bigger damage, because her stats itself, she doesn't have a huge HP pool or defense, so she's pretty squishy in that right. Now if we change her, instead of having the critical toppings or the damage toppings on her, we change her to cooldown. Now we get her down to a 4-second start, and then we're going to have that skill a lot sooner again. Of course, we're going to get hit down by the enemies, so we're going to rely on the feather. And you see right here the attack up. So that's her own attack up right there. That's what she's applying. Every time we're hitting the enemy with a certain amount, we're getting those certain amount of stacks of attack up buff. And that's what's really pumping our damage. See, here we had no focus on searing, no focus on apple jelly. There was no attack toppings itself. We just had cooldown, and we had her skill go off a little bit more. And so that's what really helped us get more damage output there. And so, because if you look at the toppings here, we don't have attack or much critical percent on the substats here, so we're really just truly relying on her skill cooldown. Now here, with the almond, this might be potentially the best setup. And the reason I'm thinking that is because the longevity of life, being a rear cookie, means that she could last for a while, attack buffing the entire team as it goes. So you can see 8 attack buffs there, still staying alive, almost alive enough. We get another hit before we even get the feather to go off. We get that another initial hit there. And then our almonds are still resisting, getting more damage resistance. And we survive almost enough for a 4th activation. So there, we're dealing really good damage too. So if we could get like 10% cooldown and 51% damage resistance on her, because as you can see, we only have 27% damage resistance and 3% cooldown, and probably attack would be the other substat that I would focus on with the solid almonds, we could probably get some really good results from her. So my current recommendation is going to be between the Swift chocolate and the almond toppings. I will try to max out both to see which one really truly does better for her. But being a rear cookie, I think it's going to be really helpful in a lot of ways with the solid almond. So for instance, if I go here to this team, I put her in my Tea Night team. The Tea Night team, I'm not going to fight a ginger scam. That's not going to work. The Tea Night team, well, it might work, but the ginger scams, they kind of skew results. So let's fight just a good meta team. Here's a Caramel Arrow team. In the Tea Night team, she's going to get her ability off and buff the entire team. So Tea Night's going to be stronger. Dark Cacao is going to be stronger. Caramel Arrow is going to be stronger. You can see attack up stacks right here. It's just going to help really pump up the damage. And so she's in the rear, doing what she needs to do. She'll still die because she's still squishy, but she's super pumped up Tea Night. And then because of the setup we have, we're just blazing through. Even though that new meta team really does a lot of good damage, we're fighting toe-to-toe with this setup, and we take it. We take the win against that. And that's a good team to fight against. They had a lot of good cookies, but you don't see tremendous results of the changes because of the attack buffs, but you get that overall raise from her being on the team. Because you got to think, if she wasn't on the team, all of our cookies would be a little bit lower in their stats of how damage they did and the healing they might have done because of how the attack buffs work. So I think that she would fit in the Tea Night team very well. I'm going to probably run her in the Tea Night team for that reason. But I also think she would do really good in a healing team, because she can provide area of damage as a rear, and she can buff all the healers so that they do a really high portion of healing damage. So what I'm going to try is putting her into episode 14 and seeing if the healing and the damage that's being dealt to the enemies is enough to make it to where we can push further into episode 14 dark mode. So that's what I'm loving about that. Additionally, I do want to try her against one of the harder bosses to see how she does, because it did say that she does more damage to non-cookies. So let's take her and put her in a team here. And we'll put the feather on just to make sure she can survive for sure. And we're just going to run her. We're going to see how well she does. I am going to put almonds on her just to give her the most survivability. And we're going to show how she does. and see what her skills are with non-cookie. So as you can see, 50,000 damage, that's pretty good. That's very acceptable. Her regular attack's doing pretty strong too. She's not a fast animation attacker, so definitely has to be paired with other units that can help protect her or keep her healed. But the damage-resistant almonds are doing a good job keeping her alive. She does have a chance to get to the boss and take it out, especially because we have the feather on, so it's a good thing we put that on. We could have honestly used Remedy here, and that would have worked too, but we do dodge his attack because of the skill making us fly over. Here we're going to perish, but the feather will bring us back. And we get like 6 attack stacks there, and there were like 6 enemies. So it's hard to calculate how she's getting the attack stats, as it seems different for each setup. But on her own, she's doing pretty good. She doesn't seem like she'll be dark mode 830 on her own, but she gets really close. Like, that's some pretty good damage. But she has no healing capability. She has no stuns or anything like that. So definitely have to pair her with good cookies to assist her. But 1.4 million damage to non-cookies over that period of time. So that's pretty acceptable. So I don't think she's going to be meta breaking of any sorts. I do think she will be used in a good amount of certain teams. And T-Night team is at least one of them that I can think that she fits well in. I will be testing her in guild battle and seeing if she can replace Sorbet or Black Raisin as one of the ambush leads. It does depend on how fast that activation can go off. It might have to have a different type of timing, but it is something very interesting that I want to look at. And then last but not least, we're going to go ahead and just look at the patch note updates. So we have the new Kingdom Layout presets. You can get them with gems and rarities if you want to buy the additional slots, but you do get 2 free. You have the store building functions and the favorites, which I'll show you guys in a minute. The new storage interface, which is actually really well built. I really like it. We have the new cookie bonds, which is going to make a lot of people stronger just because of having the leveled up and starred up cookies of the new cookies. We have all the new costumes, only 3 of which are epic. The others are rare, so more chances to get them. And of course, the avocado is a common one. Then the limited time decors, that's going to be... Where is that? That is going to be here. I'm going to cover that in my next video, just because that is kind of its own event. I don't want to mission max that with the cherry blossom point, because I want to focus this on its own thing. So we will cover this in the next video. If you guys have any opinions, if you really have some cool builds that you've already done with cherry blossom, maybe you're using caramel toppings, maybe you find that Syrian are doing a really good job and you just have a specific setup, maybe you have opinions on a specific team that she's fitting into really well for you, please tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for stopping by, and good luck getting cherry blossom in your polls.